Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farah and I wanted to do just a quick reading update. This is going to be my reading wrap up for February and March. And I'm sorry I've been so behind, but I did still want to make this video and let you guys know what I have been reading and if there's been any new favorites. So I'm going to kind of go quickly through these. I don't want to spend too much time on each book, but because it's been a while and I don't remember much. But yeah, let's get started. I read quite a few. I listened to a few audiobooks. I did read a few things for my Read What You Want challenge, and it was a good mix. It was a good mix of like mood reading and reading what I own. So the first thing I finished in February was another memoir of a founding father, and this one was Benjamin Franklin, An American Life by Walter Isaacson. And this one was pretty good. It was on the shorter side. I try to keep these presidential or founding father biographies on the shorter side. And then if I really like the character, I can go back and read one of the longer, more epic biographies. But this one was pretty good. It was a great learning experience of his personality and what he was like and all the things he did before he became involved in the signing of the Declaration of Independence in the Second Continental Congress in helping to sway the votes for independence. And he had a really quite a long life before all that, because I think that all happened when he was older, like 60s or 70s. So it was great. I did feel, though, that we were held back from him. It wasn't as intimate as I would have liked. And maybe there just wasn't as many letters or materials that the historian could pull from, like there was with the John Adams one I read, which was great. But it was interesting. I gave it 4 stars, but I wouldn't say it was super good. I listened to it as audio, and I did get lost at points within the audio. So that might have been part of it, but that was that one. It was a little dry. I won't lie. That's not Candy Coat. Yeah, it was a little dry. So after that, I picked up something completely different and I read the 4th volume in the Heartstopper series. This is a graphic novel series focusing on 2 boys that go to school in England and fall in love, and it's just the sweetest, cutest, most whimsical story you could ever think of. And I completely and thoroughly enjoy these books. This one was no exception. I thought this was one of the really strong books in the series. It talked a bit about eating disorders and how to navigate through that, both as the person with it and as the person that loves somebody with it. And I thought it was handled in a great way to help younger adults that are going through this, maybe with their friends or loved ones, to know what to do. And so it was great in terms of teaching that in a gentle way. But again, it's so cute and lovey and cuddly and sweet. And I have a good time with these. I really enjoy these. My daughter and I recently watched the 3rd season of Heartstopper on Netflix, which we also love. They're just really sweet. I love them, honestly. Next, I read A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. This one's fantastic. This was a gift to me. I had never heard of this book before, although I have been hearing more of you talk about it on BookTube recently. First of all, I love this copy. I love it. It's a New York Red Book collection story, and the painting that they use for the cover is beautiful. I'll put a picture of it here. It's gorgeous. I want to buy a copy, a print for my kitchen or something. But anyway, this book tells a story about this man who has come back from the war. He was a soldier. He's also coming away from a difficult relationship or a divorce. And it just tells his experience of working at a church, restoring an old mural, and the characters that he encounters and the people he becomes friends with. And it was really great for such a short book. It was great. I loved it. There were so many little pockets of humor within this that made me laugh out loud. There's a character named Kathy who was a 14-year-old girl who was so blunt in the way that she spoke and viewed the world. Just there was like a love interest, and I don't want to give spoilers away, but the way it was handled and the way that it ended, I really liked it. I loved it. This was a 5-star book for me. I really loved it. Okay, then I finished this audiobook I had been working on for a while. This is the 2nd book in the Outlander series called Dragonfly in Amber by Diana Gabaldon. This was excellent. Outlander is probably one of my all-time favorite books. This book isn't as good as Outlander, I will say that. There's a lot less action. There's a lot more dialogue. There's a lot more world building. It takes place in France and in Scotland. But it is one of those books that's difficult to talk about unless you've read the first book, but is immediately takes place after the second book. These aren't books that you can really read out of series. And it was just so, what do I say? What do I say about these books? I'm so in love with these characters. I've been with them for so long. And this is a reread, so I knew it was going to happen. The audio experience of listening to this was fantastic because, again, if I drifted in and out, I already knew the story. And each time I read it, I think this is the third time I've read it. This is the first time I've listened to it, though. I keep finding new things, or I keep learning new things. We get introduced to a beloved character named Lord John Grey, who has his own set of spin-off novels, which I've read and I've enjoyed. We flash forward into the future. I think my one criticism of the book is that it does move around in time differently than the other books did, or definitely more different than Outlander. And so the present day timeline wasn't quite as interesting, of course. I wanted to be back in the 1700s with Claire and Jamie. So that was a criticism. There was a lot of political scheming that you can kind of get lost in a little bit. There was a lot of sorrow, there's loss. But towards the end, it really picks up in action again, and it's like a heart-wrenching story. So I am going to be continuing with the Outlander series as audio. I'm working my way through a couple Lord John ones now because I'm just trying to do them in order. I really, really love this one. I would say it's still a 5 stars, but it's less of a 5 stars than Outlander, if that makes sense. Okay, I also read another book, a short novella called The Uncommon Reader by Alan Bennett. And this one I heard of from Emily's channel, from Em Reads. She had mentioned that she listened to it as audio and she really enjoyed it. So I did pick up the audio for this at first, but I got lost in it a little bit, the narration. And I have this weird thing with audio where it's very difficult for me to listen to a narrator that is a male British voice. For some reason, it's really hard for me to pay attention and to keep up with the story. I kind of get lost in the accent a little bit. It's not the same if it's a woman with a British accent or an American man, but a British male voice in audio is difficult for me to focus on. So I switched to the ebooks and I had a much better time with it. I could absorb the story more. But ironically, the best possible situation is if I'm listening to the male English narrator but reading at the same time, then it's a fantastic experience and I love it. But just the narration alone by a British accent who's a man somehow is hard for me. Does anyone have that? Or maybe I'm just being weird. I'm probably just being weird. So anyway, this story is a fictional telling of Queen Elizabeth and her experience of realizing her love of books again and what it does to the people around her and how everybody like freaks out about it, and she just remains her calm self. And I will say the last sentence of this book is so funny and amazing. So it was cute. It wasn't anything like hugely amazing, but I did give it a 4 stars because it was fun and it was enjoyable. Okay, next, I read a short series of poems in a collection that I got from the thrift store, and this was called Let There Be Light, and this was by the Salasian Collection, from the Salasian Collection. I'm not sure how you say that. It was edited by Jennifer Grimaldi, and it was a very short little collection of poetry. It's Christian-based poetry, and it also has a huge focus on the changing seasons. So I thought it would be fun to read during the Lenten season, and I really liked it. I really liked it. The poetry was really simple. It was done in a rhyming format, and it was really just, I thought it was very endearing. But my favorite part about this poetry collection was, of course, the focus on nature and the beauty of nature, and all the different seasons had different poems about them. It was also about like reflecting and being thankful and appreciating the little things going on in life at the moment. But my favorite part was the beautiful watercolor illustrations for each poem and each page. It was a full page illustration. And I did give it to my mom to read, so unfortunately I can't show you. But if I can find a picture online, I will put it here. It was just really nice. It was a really nice little collection, and I enjoyed it. So I also read and loved The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the first time I've ever read it, even though I've seen the movies, so I kind of know the story already. This was a great reading experience. I loved this book. I wish I had read it when I was younger because I think I really would have gotten into the series as a kid. What I think was great about this, and I've seen the movies, so I've seen the movies before I've read the book, which I don't know how that would have influenced it, but I could see everything in my mind really clearly. So that I guess was a plus in terms of, um, visualizing all these adventures he went on. But what I really liked about the book was that it was such an intimate focus on Bilbo and his thoughts and his personal journey going from this quiet little hobbit that was kind of afraid to do anything and just wrapped up in the comforts of his own home to this really intelligent asset that these dwarves had in the journey to reclaim their homeland and their treasure. So it was just fun. I mean, he got beat down emotionally quite a bit from the dwarves not believing in him, but he proved his instincts, he proved his strengths. And I just love that kind of little quiet strength that isn't obvious in the beginning, but comes out, especially as you become more confident in yourself. So it was a great story. I loved the character of Bilbo. I could like picture in here Gollum and all those parts. And I loved how there was so many different little pockets of adventure within this book. So, you start out and you had the trolls, and then you get like the scene where they're with the goblins, the eagles. It's just such a great book and a great story. And I had wanted to do the read along of The Lord of the Rings with Emily's channel from Em Reads, but I got way far behind. I don't even know how they're doing with that, if they're still going through with it. But I do still plan to read the other 3 books in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So this was fantastic. 5 stars. It was great. I loved it. And then the final book I read during March, and this was my favorite. And this one I found out about from my friend Grace at Grace Reads, or Grace Silva's channel. And this is called Tradwife, and this is by Saratoga Schaefer. And this was so crazy, but fun. It was such a page turner, and I really, really, really liked it. So this book is hard to describe. It's a horror. And I don't read a ton of horror, but this type of horror is fun because it wasn't anything too gruesome, but it just had the right amount of like body gore with creepiness, with like a really strong feminist message. So, and she talked about it on her channel, and she immediately sold me on it. I was like, yes, I have to try it. So this is one of those like spur of the moment, get it from the library, read it from start to finish, fun mood reading. Booktube is wonderful type of moments. So this book, I listened to it as audio. I highly recommend the audio. It was really well done. But this book tells the story of this young woman named Camille. She's in her 20s, and she's a social media influencer who focuses her life, or her account, as being a trad wife, or a traditional wife that stays home, cooks and cleans, treats her husband like a king, dresses up, always done up in makeup, always looks beautiful and perfect, and has everything perfect for her husband, lives for her husband. And there's a huge social media movement within this community. And she's obsessed, I guess is a good word to say it, of kind of the queen bee of these type of influencers. And she's always trying to get her attention. And she gets so excited when she gets like a like from her. So Camille's issue is that she wants a baby because her trad wife lifestyle is kind of not going anywhere because she needs a baby to up the ante with her posts, and everybody's asking her, when are you going to get pregnant? So her husband's kind of like half on board, but they're having trouble conceiving. So she's really obsessed with this. And right off the bat, something that I loved about this book was her ability to just make us cringe with this character of Camille, because you're just like, oh my God, what are you thinking? Like, if anyone wants to be a traditional wife, that's totally fine. But when you're pining over a baby just for social media views, it's just horrific. It's horrible. It's horrible. But the good thing is that she does give her enough insight. She gives her this inner voice, like, what are you doing? Why are you acting like this? You're so much smarter than this. Like, why are you doing this lifestyle? It's just not right. So we have like this inner voice that kind of combats Camille's like intolerableness. So Camille decides to take a walk in her backyard. They just moved to this area. They're in the country. There's this old decrepit well outside, and she makes a wish for a baby. Then some weird stuff starts happening, and she starts feeling like the house is haunted and all this different things go on, and she finds herself pregnant. And so the story tells the story of her going through this pregnancy and what's happening to her. And she's she's having weird dreams and messages, and she keeps attributing it to angelic presence that came to help her. And we see not only her body transform, but we see how she sees herself transform. And I just thought it was really well done. The horror part of it was so out there. And when the baby's born, you're just like, how is this going to end? How can this possibly end? What's going to happen? She gets herself in this situation that is so crazy. You just don't know how she's going to do it, how she's going to function in society with the way that things turned out. So it was a really fast-paced book. I couldn't wait to listen to it. It kept my attention. I was able to listen to it without being distracted. It was like an easy audiobook to listen to while I was doing other things. It just had a great message towards the end about that kind of lifestyle and finding your true self and finding your value, and the idea of, when people put their kids on social media as a way to make money and how wrong that is and stuff. It was a very satisfying book to read, and it had a great ending. I really liked it. So those were my books I read for February and March. It was really fun. I had a great couple reading months. And if you guys have read any of these, please let me know. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.